How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is another Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time we are doing an obscure hero.
Talk about an understatement.
What do you mean by that?
This guy is way too obscure.
What do you mean, way too obscure? I don't even think that's a thing. I mean, this is definitely a lost hero, and he fits perfectly into the format of this.
You went overboard with the obscurity of this one.
You know what? We have people who watch the videos. They can tell me whether they thought this hero was way too obscure. I do have to admit, though, that this is definitely one that I accidentally stumbled on. I did not go looking for this. He came up with me randomly typing in hero names. Okay, this is a really weird one. As weird as it is obscure, he has two different stories, but they're under two different publications, which itself is unusual. But he also has the text story before he has a panel story, which is also unusual. Usually they would go the other way around, where panels would come before a text story. Text stories were used so that you can tell an entire story and reduce the amount of space that you wanted because you didn't have enough panels or pages, which, yeah, 64 to 69 really seemed to be the limit back then. Anyways, you can tell this is the same hero because his civilian identity and superhero identity are the same in both, which is also unusual. It is not unusual for heroes to share the same name, but for their civilian identities to transfer into another publication, that is an unusual thing, which is also why I want to cover this hero. I'm not going to go too much into this. I explain a lot of this for the lead-in before his first appearance. And I think you might find this one interesting as well as completely obscure. So let's get into Nighthawk. Nighthawk, Jack Fillon, first appeared in Dynamic Comics number 3 in 1942. The original publisher is Chesler, created by Unknown. Now, Nighthawk, this can't get much more obscure than this. He had two appearances. In Chesler Comics, he appeared in Dynamic Comics number 3 as a one-page text story. Now, an all-new short story comics was actually produced by Harvey Comics. And this is where it gets weird. There are a couple of different disparities between the text story in Chesler and the all-new short story in Harvey, and I'll go over those. But the interesting thing about this is the all-new short story comics only has 14 pages. Now, I have tried to find a full issue of this comic, and I can't find it anywhere except for the 14 pages. What this does is it makes the Nighthawk story come up short. I have 6 pages of what was either supposed to be a 7 or 8 page story. I can surmise the ending by how Golden Age stories tend to go, but I can't fully follow the completion of the story. But I'm going to go over the text story, and then I will go over the pages that I have, even though I don't have the full story. But since we have the one-page text in 6 pages, I'm going to show everything that I have. Like I said, the text stories in Chesler, and the illustration is in Harvey Comics. Now, there are some differences that I've noticed in both of these, and I'll point these out before I start going over it. In the Nighthawk story, we have Mr. Curry, who I have not been able to find his first name anywhere, of Curry Airplane, and his daughter Jane, who I assume is just a child by the way he talks about her and her actions. And then we have Jake Fillon, who is Nighthawk. Now, In the Harvey comics, instead of an airplane manufacturer, he manufactures tanks instead. Jane is a fully grown woman, and she is actually engaged to Jake Fillon, who is Nighthawk. Now, the reason I say she is a child is because when she's with her father, she asks if she can write on the airplane. The father says yes, she can, and she goes over there, and she wants to write, let's see, let me write good luck on the motors of the planes. He says all right, and she uses lipstick, and he says, what a silly kid, she's using lipstick. And they don't make any reference to her age in this. And even when he frees, I mean, later on they even say, Mr. Curry, you and your daughter will leave for Germany where you will manufacture planes. Refusing, your daughter dies. And they don't make any reference to Nighthawk dating Jane. She even asks about how she followed them. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and these are the differences that I've noticed. The airline versus tanks. She seems to be a child to a full-grown woman. And Mr. Curry never has a first name. Now, in the origins that I've been able to find, a little bit of research, it says that he is a wealthy playboy who secretly fights crime as a costume hero known as Nighthawk. I cannot verify that. He does have no powers, but he does seem to be akin to acrobatics and fighting. So let's go over the text-based story. I'll review it. I don't normally review texts, but this is technically his first appearance. So we'll do that. And then we will get into the panel stories so you can see what little information, what little bit I have been able to find. I mean, I would love to find a full issue of all new short stories just to see everything that's on it. And if you check the other pages, you've got like 50 to 60 pages on all the other ones, so you can tell this one comes up short. Notwithstanding that the Nighthawk story isn't full on there. So I don't know how far into the comic the Nighthawk story goes, but I do know that this is his only other appearance and his only panel appearance. So let's go over these two stories, and then you'll know just about everything there is about Nighthawk. Okay, so we start off with his name, and that's a weird thing. His name is background shaded. So we start off and we find out that Jane, her father, and Jake Fillon are all at the Curry Airline Company, and he talks about how these planes will be going off to Britain in a little while. Jane decides that she wants to write good luck on the airplane, so she starts using lipstick. We find out that a worker is working on the airplanes when the worker gets knocked out, and a gang comes in. The leader of the gang is the Green Skull. So he also says, "Okay, baby, school is closed. Put down the pencil." Now, Jake, let's see, one of the thugs tried to hit him with a club. Jake ducked the gangster. He ducked. The gangster missed him, and he runs off saying that he's going to go call the police for help. He uses this time to change into Nighthawk. As the thugs are about to take off with the planes, because in the next issue they call them fifth columnists, so I'm guessing that they're working for the Nazis. Nighthawk shows up. Instantly, Nighthawk charges into the gangsters, sending a steady stream of blows into them, when suddenly a heavy club crashes on his head. So he gets knocked out. He comes up an hour later, and he cannot... The planes are gone. So is Jane and Mr. Curry, and he doesn't know how to find them. They could have gone in any direction, and it's an airfield. They really could have gone anywhere they wanted to. So as he's trying to find evidence, he notices that there are, let's see, Suddenly he spied a small red spot on the concrete runway. More and more of them, all heading north. So he's chasing after these red dots that he found from the runway, and he continues to follow them until he comes to a camouflaged hangar. Inside the hangar stood the planes. Near them, a Nazi officer is talking to Jane and her father. Mr. Curry, you and your daughter will soon leave for Germany, where you will manufacture planes. Refusing, your father dies. So he sees that these Nazis are inside of a tunnel. Finding out that this was a great way to capture them, he puts a boulder in front of the tunnel and he sealed the Nazis inside. After that, he goes into the hangar, and Jane sees him and asks him, how were you able to follow us? Well, Nighthawk, when you wrote good luck and you used lipstick, you wrote good luck, you used lipstick. When the planes took off, the motor got hot and slowly melted the lipstick, which left a trail for me to follow. Well, I must go after the green skull, and with that, he races into the woods. And it's a text story. I mean, if they put this to pages, it probably would have taken up two pages. The way paneling was done in the Golden Age, they could have made it 4. Okay, so let's go all the way to the all-new short story comics and review the pages that we had. Stolen, a million tanks. When the enemy agents tried to steal our government's specifications, they don't realize they had to buck the Nighthawk, who had a special way of dealing with Fisk colonists. And you basically just see your last page: Nighthawk, Green Skull, Jane. Okay, so he's meeting with this man called Norris. And he says he's received the specifications. They can begin at the plant tomorrow. You're an excellent partner, Norris, especially you're securing the contract for the army tanks. I'll take good care of the papers. Jane wants to know why he has to team up with Norris, and he's like, yeah, he has the money. I mean, that's fair. Funding has to come somewhere. That night, someone is breaking into the safe, and the butler witnesses and tries to stop him. The butler gets killed for his troubles. Jane, hearing the noise, runs downstairs, and she notices that the safe has been pilfered, and she calls Jake, her fiance. I found the butler dead, and Daddy's valuable... Why are you calling him Daddy? You look like you're at least 19 or 20. I found the butler dead, and Daddy's valuable papers are gone. What shall I do, Jack? There's nothing you can do now. I have a friend, the Nighthawk. I'll have him keep watch over your house, and I'll see you later on. So he goes to his closet, and he dresses up as the Nighthawk. And now we go over to focus on the criminals. And he says that he's stolen the papers. The Green Skull looks at the papers and realizes that he's been tricked. You sap, you've been tricked. You bought back a recipe on how to make cake. Come here, guys. Oh, it's a cake recipe. It's not a total loss at that point. Okay, so the Green Skull is not happy with this, and he's telling his gang to form together. And he realizes that he's probably going to tell his daughter what really happened to the paper, so they start to stake the house a little bit. Later at the Curry home, but they haven't succeeded in getting the plans. Fortunately, I didn't put them in the safe. And the Green Skull shows up with a couple of his henchmen, and they have guns drawn. Grab the dame and get busy on the old man. Make him, I think it's going to be done just like that, huh? So Nighthawk busts in. Now, another thing that was interesting about this, I didn't mention in the text story, Nighthawk is a known entity. They even said that criminals feared him. And they recognized him when he appeared on the scene. It's Nighthawk. And here, they don't seem to recognize who Nighthawk is at all. Which, this means that this story came before the other one. No, planes and tanks are nothing alike. So he begins to wallop on the foes, and he's beating everybody up. He swings from a light that is apparently, it's like a chandelier, which is apparently strong enough to hold a full-grown man, and I don't know if he's in combat attire or what. And he's beating up everybody, clobbering all the bad guys. And the Green Skull has the girl by the arm and the gun. Okay, fellas, get ready to beat it. The girl comes back when we get the papers. I'll send for them, and don't fail. Okay, so the Nighthawk explains to Mr. Curry about how they have the daughter, and he's going to use the papers to fool them. I'm under oath to the government not to show the plans to anyone but my chief engineer. Love your priorities. I love that your daughter is not your main priority, you schmuck. Okay, concealed in the shadows, the Nighthawk waits patiently until the figure enters the Curry home. So, this guy in an very ugly orange suit goes to Curry's homes, grabs the plans, and as he's leaving, Nighthawk jumps him. He pulls out the gun, Nighthawk subdues him and tells him, where are you going? At the turnpike, it's the Green Skull, and don't hit me. Okay, so we cut back to the hideout where she's all tied up. If my man isn't back soon, you'll be carried home, Mrs. Curry. I'm not afraid. I hope Daddy doesn't give them to him. You've got weird priorities too. Hey, boss, he's coming. So the man in the orange suit shows up. And he says, yes, I can give you the papers, but you have to untie the girl first. Why would you? They do untie the girl, but it's really stupid. I'll give you the plan. Hey, boss, I got your plans. Well, give them to me. Untie the girl first. Yeah. Even in the golden age, that's a stupid thing. Okay, so she's free. Give them to me. You see, that didn't make any sense. So he reaches out and he punches the Green Skull, and he starts to protect her. So you're Jake's friend. Always glad to do him a favor. Here it goes. Okay, chums, it's against a bunch of you. Just watch him see little birdies. Now, if this is a 7 or 8 page story, he may get knocked out for a minute because you see the guy raising the gun to hit him on the back of the head. So if it actually turns out to be a 10-page story, Nighthawk gets away, and then the Green Skull will redouble his effort to get the plans, and Nighthawk will beat them at the end. If it's an 8-page story, Nighthawk dodges the gun, hits the guy who's trying to hit him, stops the Green Skull, gets the plans back, and rescues the girl. And they go on to give their plans to the government, and he may or may not reveal who he is to Jane. Because in the Golden Age stories, about half the women who were in love with the hero or the hero's counterpart, sometimes they knew, sometimes they didn't. So I can't definitively say how the story ends because it's not there. But based on the amount of Golden Age stories that I've read, if it's an 8-pager, it's almost over. If it's a 10-pager, they go on a little bit more. And I mean, he got knocked out in the tech story. It would only seem fair that he would get knocked out in this story, but 2 different publications. And I'm not sure of the year of this, but based on the color in the illustration, I'm not going too far past 42. I'd probably go 1943. Okay, real quick, I just had to go to number 3 to get a year, and it said May of 1943, so yeah, 2 months earlier. 1943 seems to be about spot on. It would be January, February, March, April, May, so probably March of 1943. It depends on if this was a bi-monthly or bi-weekly or every other week. But yeah, 1943 seems to be about right. Yeah, I know. The name sounded so much cooler than the hero turned out to be. It was fine. I just wish I could have finished the second story. Well, I hope you like this one. I hope that if you have more requests, you send them in, because I mean, this wasn't a request. I found this guy, but doing requests lets me find guys like this. So, and I've actually found some obscure heroes while looking for requests. So, until next time, I'll be seeing you.